again. It's us. This is The Sweat. We're going to help you make money. We're talking baseball. Your must-plays tonight. We have experts for that.
And speaking of baseball, a special guest joins the program, Giants reliever Mark Melancon.
And it's the Wyndham Championship. It's your final day to set your golf rosters. We got a few winners of this tournament you need to be keeping an eye on.
It's all coming up right now on
The Sweat. So if you don't know, now you know. This is The Sweat. Millions and millions of fans around the world watched our debut on Monday. Thanks for being part of it. And if you were not, welcome. She is Jessie. I am Emerson. And every night we do our best to help you make some money.
So batting leadoff tonight is baseball, and there's no better trio to help you get your lineup set than Gary and Thorn, Steve Buchanan, and Julian Edlow.
Wow,
so,
Julian.
Guys, we're going to start with chase or fade. So do you agree or disagree with the following statements? And be sure to tell the people at home why. So, Steve, we're going to have you start us off. You can go cheaper on pitching today because Gerrit Cole and Zack Wheeler aren't worth the price tag. Are you chasing or fading?
Well, first I have to chase the idea that I asked for Julian back because I didn't like Pierce, and now here he is.
Well, Pierce always has such a negative attitude. Let's be honest.
That just doesn't show what type of power I have here. Then I don't know what does.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm gonna fade this notion about the pitching. I mean, I don't mind either of these pitchers tonight. I mean, yeah, sure, Gerrit Cole's expensive, but he's got that high K upside against the Rockies. I mean, Zack Wheeler, I mean, I wouldn't even mind if he was priced a little bit higher. He's absolutely deserved it, averaging 26 DK fantasy points over his last 5 games with a K9 just under 9 in that span. Look, Baltimore has a 23.8 K percentage over the last 2 weeks, which is the 4th highest in the league. So with Wheeler doing what he's doing, there's absolutely no reason why I'd be fading him at all. Then once we get past Cole and Wheeler, I feel like there's a lot of, maybe I'll use him. There's a lot of question marks after that. This is not a great slate for pitching, so I absolutely like these guys tonight.
Gary, and what do you think? Do you feel like you need to pay up, or can you go cheaper?
Yeah, I'm fading this too, and it's for the same reason as Steve. I really like Zack Wheeler. I was prepared to pay more for Zack Wheeler tonight, and if people are off of Zack Wheeler because they don't think he can reach 3x value because of this price point, then I'm happy to not have to eat the chalk that I thought I was going to have to eat tonight. Like, even with the Orioles being one of the top 5 teams offensively in baseball by many major offensive categories the last 14 days, they are still striking out a ton. They have the 2nd lowest zone contact rate over that 14-day span, the 3rd highest swinging strike rate over that 14-day span. Like, all that has to happen for Wheeler to hit value is he continues to pitch like he's pitched across the last 65 days, a span of time which includes a sub-250 opponent WOBA and a 27% strikeout rate. And the Orioles have to strike out, which they're really, really good at doing. So I like some guys lower in this slate. I feel like Marco Estrada, I don't know how many times we can go back to the Jays at Kansas City and keep coming back empty, but there are names. Even that $8,000 tier I think is very tempting tonight, but I'm in on paying up for Wheeler.
Julian, Wheeler's going to cost you 10.8K. Is there anybody else down there that you would feel comfortable with, or do you feel like you have to pay up?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Gerrit Cole, I don't want to be involved in anything that's going on with the Astros right now. So you can forget Cole. They're on this 9-game losing streak. Like the other guys said, I'm fading this question, and it's only because of Zack Wheeler. He has a 1.33 ERA in his last 4 starts. He pitched 7 scoreless innings against the Orioles earlier this season. He's got a great matchup. But I will, I guess, chase that you can go cheap at pitching tonight. You don't have to roster Cole or Wheeler, although I love Wheeler as much as these other guys. We've got Kevin Gausman at a really fair price. I think he'll be a popular pitcher for the Braves going up against a Marlins team that is just crumbling. And then there are some cheaper options that I think you can get in if you want to fit these more expensive lineups like the Indians and Braves. So I think you can go cheap, but I'm fading that you have to.
All right, well, let's talk about one of the more ridiculously hot bats right now, guys. There's Braves rookie Ronald Acuna Jr. The kid's on an absolute tear, youngest player ever to go yard in 5 straight games. So, Gary, and you chasing or fading, you've got to ride the hot hand at $5,700.
I think this is a pretty easy fade. I mean, the matchup last night was spectacular. Like, Trevor Richards against right-handed bats. I would have almost been surprised if he didn't hit a home run on the first pitch, which he did. Tonight's not exactly as set in stone a fantastic matchup. I mean, I'm not here to sing the praises of Jose Urena, but I will at least say the way we've attacked Urena for the past 3 years is left-handed bats, something Ronald Acuna is not. In fact, only 0.53 home runs per 9 to right-handed batters so far this season. I will admit, batting leadoff for the Braves, there's a good chance he gets 5 plate appearances. 2 of those probably come against a very bad Marlins bullpen, but I'd rather side with the 60% bad matchup than the projected 40% good matchup. And look, if you want to play a hot bat for $1,000 less, Justin Upton has a better matchup against Robbie Erlin. So if we want to play recency bias, use Justin Upton.
All right, pretty hot take.
Sweatometer.
The sweatometer's going off. Steve, can you give us a complete meltdown here? Thank you very much.
It's really hot in here.
It is really hot, actually. Legit, it is hot. Steve, what do you think here? Acuna, you like his matchup against Urena?
No, I mean, Garion was right. I mean, let's also take into the fact that he jumped almost $1,000 in salary from last night. It's a massive jump. So now at this point, if you're taking him, you almost need to get a home run to return value on what you're getting tonight. I mean, look, he's hit 4 days of home runs there. That's fantastic. But flip a coin, it's going to land on tails at some point. It's just not going to happen. It's just been a great run for him, and that's absolutely fine. But this is a guy who barely averages a home run per 9 innings that he's facing tonight in Urena. Of the 15 home runs that he's allowed, only 4 of them have been to right-handed bats. Like Garion said, lefties are the guys to target against him tonight. I mean, then when you look at that range, we have Andrew Benintendi, who's just $100 less. He's leading off tonight against Vincent Velasquez, who struggles against left-handed bats. I would much rather take that matchup tonight over Acuna. Yeah, like I said, the kid is doing well right now, but the home runs are going to stop at some point.
Hey, Julian, what are the chances Ronald Acuna Jr. here returns value at $5,700?
Yeah, I mean, look, if Acuna is on your season-long team, you're obviously playing him tonight. But we're talking DFS, and these guys just talked about it. $1,000, his salary rises going into a worse matchup. That's just not smart to target. Look, he's red hot. He has between 14 and 36 DraftKings points in each of his last game. I'm not telling you he's definitely going to have a bad game. I'm telling you that the way that you play DFS is not to target players who are going into a worse matchup with their salary rising $1,000. If you want to look at this game, if you want to stack the Braves, which I don't think is a bad idea, maybe you get them into a stack if you're playing multiple lineups. But if you want a Brave, look at Freddie Freeman, 5,100. He's a left-handed bat. Garion hit on how much left-handed bats could be way more valuable in this lineup. He's 8 for 20 against Urena in his career, a pair of home runs, 5 extra base hits. That's a little something called BVP, and that's why you're not going to play Acuna.
Ooh.
Okay, Julian, I kind of have a feeling where you might go with this one.
Yep.
Chase or fade that there's no clear-cut stack to go with on tonight's slate. You just mentioned a stack that you didn't think was a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm going to fade that there's no clear-cut stack because I think the 2 offenses that you definitely want exposure to, if you can, are the Braves and Indians. If you look at these 2 series, the Braves have scored 25 runs in 3 games against the Marlins. They are dominating them. The Indians have scored 18 runs in 2 games against the Reds. They are crushing them as well. And the pitching matchups kind of suggest that there will be no change in either of those results. Robert Stevenson is on the mound for the Reds. All these Indians runs have been coming in games against really bad right-handed pitching, which is exactly what Robert Stevenson is. And then we talked about Jose Urena. He is 0 for 3 this season against the Braves with a 6.75 ERA in those games. So I just see no reason that these trends stop with the Indians and Braves being the offenses to target. Problem is you have to afford them.
Yeah, Stevenson allowed 3 runs to the Mets in just 4 innings, so that's really bad.
Not ideal.
Garion, what do you think? Is there a clear-cut stack here?
Well, we'll talk about Robert Stevenson in a little bit. I've given myself 3.5 hours to not be an insane person, but clearly I'm still an insane person. So I kind of like the Reds tonight. I like the opposite side of that Great American Ballpark stack. But I think the answer to this question specifically is I'm chasing this. There is no clear stack because if you have Zack Wheeler in your lineup, if you pair him with one of those other $8,000 tiered pitchers, you're just not going to be able to afford the Braves. You're not going to be able to afford the Indians. And that leaves you with these mini stacks, of which there are plenty across the board. 4 through 6 in the Reds order is uniquely and cheaply priced to have great performances against Shane Bieber, who really has allowed left-handers to hit him around the ballpark a little bit so far this season, though he's been better as of late. But you've got your your Preston Tuckers, your Tucker Barnharts, your Scooter Gannett's. I like that. I like a couple Toronto bats tonight. I like a couple Dodgers bats tonight, but there's not really one driving force with so many bad pitchers on this slate.
Steve, a lot of bad pitchers. What do you think? Is there a clear-cut stack, or do you think there's plenty of options?
You know, for a slate that has a lot of bad pitching options, there's not a lot of great stacking options tonight. So I'm going to chase this one. Like Arian said, the Reds are in a good spot for the lefties there against Shane Bieber. I kind of like some of the lefties for the Yankees against Jake Faria. Obviously, he's not going to go long because the Rays just don't implement that. He's only going to go about 3 innings if he makes it that far. And then there's also some of the Boston bats against Vincent Velasquez. But, you know, he's even been better against lefties lately, and he just absolutely shuts down righties. When you look at the Red Sox lineup, they have Brock Holt hitting second. Big whoop. I mean, what's Brock Holt going to do? Walk? I mean, that's going to get you 2 points. You're not going to be looking at that. But, yeah, there's just a lot of matchups tonight where I almost feel like I'm going to cherry pick a couple guys here and there. So I don't really see myself stacking a lot of options tonight. One stack I am liking more and more, though, is the Phillies against the Red Sox. If you go into Evaldi's numbers more, and we'll get into this a lot more later on, but the numbers against lefties are kind of scary, and that Phillies lineup can load up on lefties, which they did tonight. But we'll talk about that later. That's a good tease.
I got the feelings of a hot take coming, so
Yep.
We'll save that for later.
We'll see you guys back here in about 20 minutes. That's when Steve will try to fight both Gary and Julian. But for now, here's Brendan Glasheen with Adam Levitin with the latest on injured Seahawks running back Rashad Penny.
Seahawks first-round pick Rashad Penny is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a broken finger. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport says the hope is Penny will be ready for Week 1 at the Broncos. Adam Levitin checks in for some reaction. How concerned should DK users be with Penny?
Oh, yeah, really concerned. I mean, we already had big concerns with Penny as he was running behind Chris Carson during the offseason program, running behind Chris Carson during training camp practices, was outsnapped by Chris Carson 7-5 with the first stringers in the first preseason game. I think Penny had some ground to make up. I think it was going to be a timeshare no matter what. But now with him missing all of camp, not able to work on pass catching, not able to work on pass protection, there's major concern that Penny's growth in year 1 will be stunted in a big way. So Chris Carson's arrow is certainly pointing straight up right now.
Staying away if it's a season-long league, DFS. I know it's still a bit premature, but how about season-long? Are you staying away for right now?
Yeah, well, let's see where his ADP goes. You know, he was going in the 4th round, Rashad Penny was, which was an absolute joke for a long time. I think if he was available in something closer to the 8th or 9th round, I would be more interested. I think that'd be more appropriate regardless of this injury. I'm not sure how successful the Seahawks will be running the football this year anyways. And then on top of it, we have him likely in a timeshare, may not play on pass downs. We know CJ Prosise is still there. So yeah, Rashad Penny's ADP would have to drop a ton for me to be interested in season long.
All right, so with his availability in question, we now look, you mentioned Chris Carson. How about Mike Davis? How would you assess the Seattle running game right now?
Yeah, it's not good. Mike Davis is a journeyman at best. Chris Carson flashed a lot and actually ended up winning the starting job at the beginning of last year before getting hurt himself, but he's still only a 7th round pick. So I think Chris Carson will start in Week 1. That's interesting. They do play at Denver, which is a difficult matchup, but Chris Carson is only 4,500. If you think that Seattle can get a run game going behind their subpar offensive line, then Chris Carson would certainly be in play, but I'm a little bit skeptical.
Russell Wilson might lead the team in rushing yards. Is that too much of a hot take?
Yeah, I think that's a little hot. I think they're going to call more runs this year with Brian Schottenheimer as the coordinator. So I think we'll see less of Russell Wilson scrambling around, but it's probably not that far off of a hot take.
All right, Rashad Penny's status Week 1. We'll see. Adam Levitin, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Football is just around the corner,
Let's
and
go.
here to help us look ahead to the season is Jake Seeley and Karin Phillips.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to play NFL over-under with you right now. You tell us the following players will go over or under these stat lines in the 2018 season. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, Karin, you're going to start us off. Rashad Penny, over or under 800 rush yards?
I know the guys look dinged up right now, but I'm going to go over. That's basically about 50 yards a game if he plays every game this season, which still might be up in the air. But, like, what other running backs are going to run for him? Like, who else are they going to get the ball to? Russell Wilson has to be tired of racking up all those rushing yards. So just by default, 800 yards, it's 200 away from 1,000. Why not?
Jake, you look like you maybe were going to start laughing there for a second. What's your take on this one?
Well, I'm laughing at the fact that I don't think there's a comparison in talent when it comes to him and Chris Carson, and I've been yelling all offseason about that fact. And I actually had Rashad Penny for over 1,000 yards to start. But as there's the news today, now I don't know if he's ready for week 1, and I don't know if this team is going to bring him in immediately and give him those touches. It will happen. He will take over. And the other reason I was laughing is because I just updated my projections because of that on theathletic.com, and I have him at 795.8. So I have him
so just under.
Yeah.
Just a bit outside.
I thought in math, when you get that close, you're just supposed to round up. Am I wrong here? Or?
I'm okay
No,
with that.
that's
Okay.
what I learned in grade school. Was the exact same
We'll
thing.
round you up.
How about another running back dealing with some injuries right now, guys? Sony Michel, with the Patriots. So, Jake, you think he's going to go over or under 7 touchdowns here on the ground?
I have him significantly under 5.3. So there you go. The fact is you look at this backfield and forget the injuries. Is even before that, you're still dealing with the Patriots. You're dealing with 4 options at least when you're talking about the Patriots, whether it's Jeremy Hill or Mike Gillislee, whoever ends up being the red zone option. Burkhead has been very effective in the red zone. Michelle, it's not just this injury. I mean, this is injury going back to college. He runs very heavy. I like the kid's talent, but when you're adding that, his fumbling issues into a backfield with plenty of options, I'm just not going to count on him to see that number.
Karn, what do you think here? Because as he just mentioned, you got the injury history, you got the current injury, you got the clouded backfield. So over under 7 touchdowns for this kid.
I'm still going to go over. Because as a guy who roots for the Patriots, which I know that's hard for a lot of people to believe, there's something that happens every year with our receivers, and we lose them, or Grunt's going to get hurt. So eventually you're going to have to hand it off to someone. And while there are 47 people in that backfield,
for real.
If you look at the talent level of those guys and what they do really well, Sony Michel is still the only sexy home run hitter you have back there that can, break a tackle and go 50 yards. So why not? He might not get a lot of work when you get close to the goal line, but when you need someone to, hit the juke button on somebody and go long, why not give it to that guy? Plus, the Patriots throw some screens every now and then, and technically, if you throw some of those screens, sometimes they are listed as long handoffs in runs, so I can see that help them out as well.
Technicality.
Sneaky. I like that.
Sneaky. All right, Jake, will Royce Freeman have over or under the best production of any of the first-round running backs, so either the best or not?
Well, it's the first-round running backs after Saquon Barkley. Is that what we're doing? Because I think they
there's no way he's being Saquon. So let's play that card.
Okay, we'll take Saquon out of the conversation.
Yes. So, I think as of today, yes, because you have the injury with Sony Michel, you have the injury to Rashad Penny, and I do think by week 5, that'll be a different conversation. So if we were just saying week 5 through the rest of the season, I would still take Penny over Royce Freeman from that point. But because Royce Freeman, as of today, I think I've always said he's going to lead that backfield, that he's the better player than Devontae Booker. I still think Booker's going to be involved in the passing game. But if you're looking what's left, all the running backs, the 2 top ones we were looking at are also involved. Darius Geis, who's now out for the season. So it's kind of just the attrition of we're kind of moving down the list, and now we're down to Royce Freeman.
Yeah, Karin, in that preseason debut last Thursday, he had 38 yards on 4 carries. I know it's preseason, but when you look at that, what do you think?
I mean, you look at that roster as a whole, and it's kind of who someone has to do it. It might as well be him. Let's look at the quarterbacks in Denver. Let's look at the wide receivers. Eesh. Now let's look at the running backs. Yeah, he's going to pull it off.
All right, you guys agree about that one.
Alone.
Yeah.
He really is coming into a situation, though, that is ripe for a bell cow running back. So
look, it's bad when your answers are groans. That's how bad it is when you just have to groan.
Yeah, I like the sound effects. That was good.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep that for some nap pops later in the show. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time. So right now we're going to toss it to Pat Mayo, who's got some tips on some roster construction for the Wyndham Championship that tees off tomorrow.
if we go to the very top of the board, you have like Webb Simpson, who is a favorite in this tournament. He's the most expensive player, and then you have like Stenson up there, you have Hideki up there, and yeah, even Snedeker, Rafa Cabrera-Bello, and Shane Lowry, all above $10,000. Normally, we see like Dustin Johnson at 10-3, and he'll be like a 7-1 favorite. Webb is 14-1 and a higher price. I know the field is weaker, but not the players who aren't DJ that have been the highest priced player all year long have not done well in terms of returning value. So can you actually go with Webb this week? On top of how he lines up well, he has the great course history. We all see it coming as the best year he's had in ages, but that's way too expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely too expensive. The one thing, of these guys, he sets up the best. He has the least red flags. It's just still, you kind of touched upon it. DJ, someone like that who is one of the best in the world, maybe the best in the world, when they're on top, they can just run away with it. We saw that multiple times this year. Webb, has a favorite. The chances that he wins this tournament, I would say, are still very slim. And when you're in 11, almost 12K, there's not a lot of wiggle room. He can't just grind to a T12. That's just not going to work in a situation like that. So I feel pretty confident saying he has a decent week in him, but I'll probably end up taking my chances, especially on the tournament side. If you want to pay up in cash, I get that, but I'll probably look to some of these other guys. There's just too many guys close to him in talent, with a nice cost savings.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably going to be the fade train for me on Webb Simpson, only because if we talk about lineup construction, you go to Webb, and then you don't have a whole lot left to play for. Like, all the best players in this field are basically like 8,500 and above. So do you think that more people will end up doing like a Stars and Scrubs type build? Or do you think that the balance will be the predominant way that people construct their lineups? Because for me, like when I was trying to build early lineups, it just seems like balanced is the easiest, the path of least resistance at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more that, like I said, I have no problem with Webb and something like that. But when you start plugging in someone like that, you're going to have to dip into these sixes. And when we get down there, it's pretty ugly. So I think people are naturally going to be funneled to taking, you want to take 6 golfers that you at least feel somewhat good about. And when you do that, you kind of have to start in the next tier. And so you can end maybe at 7-2, maybe end even in the mid 7s.
So the way that I kind of see it right now, you talk about like win equity. I was just looking at the Fantasy National Simulator. Obviously, it's not the end-all be-all of everything, but just trying to give you actual probability versus the actual betting odds. In the betting market, Webb is 14-1. He's 38.5-1 based on what the simulator projects him as, which would give him 2.5% win equity. So not great, considering he would probably need to come. Not only would he need to come top 5 to return his price, he would need one of the other top guys not to win.
All right, as we shift gears to golf, I'd like to give a special welcome to a new face to the sweat. That would be Brentley Romine from Golf Week, who, just like yours truly, attended the University of Central Florida. We are national champions. We are better than you, and we know it. And Reed and Jeff are here, too.
Self-proclaimed national champions. All right.
The worst.
We're going to play some fill in the blank. So, Reed, we need you to pay attention here. Please listen carefully. So you're going to finish these sentences that'll follow the conclusion of Sunday's round at the Wyndham Championship. Here comes the first one. Man, a $10,000 salary on DraftKings was way too blank for Shane Lowry. Reed, please take us away.
I feel like I'm at game night and I can't follow directions.
Reed,
Well,
after
you
you.
struggled with this, Reed.
I have. It's my fault. But I'm going to say that, his price is just recency bias and it's way too high. I know Jeff's going to say it's not too high and this is a good tournament play. And there are some narratives out there and some facts that, yes, over the last 20 rounds 20 rounds, he's gaining strokes gained total quite a lot in all categories. But if you look at Shane Lowry and what he's done, especially in the last 2 tournaments, this guy's gaining close to 11 strokes putting at the PGA and at the RBC Canadian. That is a ton. And in those same 2 tournaments, he's only gaining about 2 strokes approach. So let me go a little bit less with guys like, Joaquin Neiman or even Ryan Moore, who's $1,000 less. So I think it's just going to be too high for Lowry.
All right, Jeff, you heard what Reed thought you might say.
He's calling you out, buddy.
Man, a $10,000 salary on DraftKings was way too blank for Shane Lowry.
Just stay in your lane, Reed. Okay, buddy. I'm going to say this is way too perfect. I think this is the perfect price for Shane Lowry. I mean, it's also a kind of a class play. I mean, this is a weaker field event. Shane Lowry's been top 20 and over the last month, basically in strong fields and weak fields. I mean, he's got good course history here. T7 last year, needs a big week. We have him ranked pretty high. I mean, I think it's a nice spot to deploy him. Maybe more of a GPP play over Rafa Cabrera, who we probably might be a little bit more popular, but I think this is perfect. I think this is a good price. I don't expect him to win the tournament, but a top 10 wouldn't surprise me. That would pretty much pay off the salary.
So way too perfect. All right, Brentley, welcome. Now it's your turn. Man, a $10,000 salary on DraftKings was way too blank for Shane Lowry. What do you say?
Man, my first time on the show, and I already had an answer stolen from me. I was going to say perfect as well.
Oh!
You got a guy that led the field at Bellerive in strokes gained putting. Sedgefield is one of those courses where you can kind of get away being a little loose off the tee. You really win the tournament on the greens and around the greens. And Shane Lowry, hitting a lot of greens right now, making putts, has been T7, so he has a top 10 at this course. So I think he has everything in his favor. And plus, I think the rules officials this week are a little bit more reasonable.
Brentley, you sound like a winner, which is why I like you.
And there's actually a distinction right there because Jeff said too perfect and Brentley said perfect. So there we go.
2 words and 1 word. Okay, so
not for 1, Brentley.
All right, guys, up next, I really can't believe that blank missed the cut. So fill in that blank, Brentley.
I really can't believe that Henrik Stenson missed the cut. He's coming off a miscut at Bellerive. I realize that he's the defending champion, but I have a feeling that the elbow is a little bit more of a concern. And if it gives him any sort of problems, I mean, you got to think he's got a pretty big tournament coming up in the Ryder Cup in just over a month, I believe. So he's not going to take any risks. So that's why I don't think that you should take risks with your DraftKings lineups.
Reed, you just dropped the O-face on us, dude. I know Pat Mayo yesterday when we asked him, hey, are you concerned about Henrik Stenson's elbow here? He said no, so you're not concerned.
I'm not either. I think Henrik Stenson, out of the top guys outside of Webb, is probably the highest to make the cut. And so my guy's going to be HV3, Howard Varner III. He's coming in like about 20% ownership. And if we look at where he's missed cuts or in the spots where he hasn't done well, it's on courses like Sedgefield. It's the less than 7,200 yards, the Sony Open, the Career Builder, and the RBC Heritage. All of these have been either par 70s, par 72s, less than 7,200 yards. So HV3, there are red flags. Look, he's playing some of the best golf. He's a North Carolina native, I believe. And so there are a lot of things going for him, and he has some of the best golf kicks in the game. But all joking aside, this guy, it potentially has too many red flags in terms of at that ownership. So I'm going to say HV3.
Okay, Jeff, my newest friend on Twitter. Who is it?
Yeah, I saw. I got to follow back while the show was going on. Amazing.
I can multitask.
Commercial breaks, Jeff.
I can multitask with the best of them, buddy. All right, who's it gonna be shocking to you at Missed the Cut come Saturday?
That's not really shocking, but I can't believe Submergio Garcia missed the cut.
Yes!
His 11th
You hate this guy.
missed in a row. I know people are going back to the course history narrative here, and this is going to be the big bounce back Sergio week, but he's been so inconsistent off the tee. He's still figuring things out with new putters. It would not shock me at all if Sergio Garcia missed the cut again this week. He's too discombobulated in every part of his game, so I'll take Sergio.
Just don't tell his wife that you're making fun of Sergio, because last time that happened,
he likes playing out of water. He played out of the Rays Creek or whatever at the Masters, the Burn at the Open, and there's water on the
Emerson's going to tweet about it.
Yeah,
in their show.
I certainly
right,
will.
He actually just sent a tweet off about Submergio Garcia.
All right, well, because that's it for this segment, because Reed couldn't stop talking. What a great time, though, it was talking golf with all you guys, especially Brentley. Go Knights. We are going to let Adam Kaufman now take it from here, hitting the mean streets of New York to test the baseball analytics knowledge of locals and some former big leaguers.
We decided let's have a little fun, right? Let's walk around, let's talk to people, find out if they know some of the basics when it comes to baseball. The acronyms, ERA, WHIP, or some of the tougher ones like WOBA and BABIP. Well, you won't be surprised to hear the results. Talk some acronyms. All right, let's find out how well you know the sport.
Okay.
Some easy ones. ERA.
I want to say run, batter, batting.
There's no B in it.
What did you say?
Estimated runs, assist. No, I have no idea. I don't know.
Average. Something average.
Efficiency rating average.
Earned runs, average.
I know what ERA is, of course. Earned run average. Go ahead.
Earned run average.
I'm not going to insult your intelligence by asking you things like ERA or OBP or OPS. Like, you know what these things stand for. Do you not? You're looking at me like, well.
If you ask me that, you will be insulting me.
OPS.
OPS, I don't know.
Yes.
I'll take a guess. But no, I don't know.
I forgot OPS. I don't remember.
Oscillations per second.
Oscillations per. I wouldn't even know what that means. Like a fan?
Oh, like moving.
On base percentage plus slugging.
That's what I'm not lying to you. That's what it is.
OBP.
Opposite.
How about OBP?
No, I have no idea. This is just embarrassing at this point.
No, try.
Overall batting percentage. On base percentage.
On base percentage.
OBP.
On base percentage.
All right, good. So not a total rookie here. Some people, you'd be surprised.
How familiar are you with all the new age terminology?
I've tried to educate myself. You know, I'm a fan. I like analytics.
How about, whip, the pitcher stat whip?
Yeah, okay, the whip. That's when hits and all that kind of stuff.
Whip.
Wins per inning pitched.
But it.
That is a walks and hits inning percentage.
Walks plus hits per innings pitched.
Oh,
I know, it's tricky.
You said easy acronyms.
Well, I said a couple easy ones. Yeah, no, they're going to get harder.
Whip, you know how many base runners a pitcher allows?
Walks and hits per innings pitched.
How about WOBA? WOBA.
Guys, I don't know these acronyms.
Give it a try.
I'm done. WOBA?
WOBA.
I don't know.
WOBA. I can get a crazy imagination, but
go for it.
No, can't say it on TV.
Walking or batting average.
I like that one, actually. It's like you have a choice. Walking or batting average. Just pick whichever one's higher. Just go with it.
I don't know. Walks over bases allowed?
Weighted on base average.
See, like, I gave you a great guess.
You did.
I wasn't even close.
All right, let's
You know, with on base average.
Weighted on base average.
Weighted on base average.
But you're right there. That counts. I'm going to give that to you.
Weighted on base.
Yeah.
How big is the guy? How heavy is he? So if you got me on first base, I'm gonna weigh the base down.
How about BABIP?
What?
BABIP.
Babbitt?
BABIP.
Babbitt.
Babbitt?
BABIP.
Babbitt?
Yeah.
BABIP. B-A-B-A.
Babbitt. How do you spell it?
B-A.
B-A.
B-A-B-I-B.
B-A-B-I-P.
B-I-P. That's too many. That's too many letters.
I have no idea.
I don't even know how to say it.
I have no idea what that is.
Try.
Bases and I don't know what it stands for. I don't know.
Bunts and bats. Ip. Batters after batters. Innings pitched. Being awesome at baseball while pitching.
I don't think those letters play out.
I just got batting. I mean, I'm not good at these guessing games. I don't know.
No, what else could B's be for? Bat, ball.
Balls and bases.
I don't know.
Batting.
Batting.
No idea. I have no idea.
Batting average on balls in play.
On? Batting average on? Where's the O?
Oh, I didn't even know that was an acronym.
Okay.
I would have never gotten there.
Do you know BABIP?
Sure, absolutely. You know, your batting average when you actually put the ball in play.
Right.
That's why I'm glad I'm retired.
Right,
Because I don't have to deal with all these.
This is all the junk that you'd have to deal with if you were still playing.
It's been there since day one.
Yeah.
It just took Billy Bean and his cronies to figure it out and change the game a little bit.
Okay, maybe a little hit and miss. Okay, nobody had a clue. But even still, it was fun, and at least we all know what DFS stands for, right?
All right, that was good stuff. And baseball's back, as are Gary and Steve and Julian. And it's time for a game we like to call Put Up Your Pukes.
Lots of positive feedback on this after yesterday. Ratings were through the roof.
Yeah, baby.
So, Steve, you're going to give us, originally we'd say 3. Today it's going to be 2 because somebody's not in the lineup. So 2 of your top guys tonight with their point projections. Who you got first? And you can just go ahead and tell us who got scratched there.
Yeah, so Carlos Santana was going to be guy number 3, but apparently the Phillies don't feel like winning, and they want to take him out and put in Justin Bour. But that's fine. Put up your bukes. Loved by many, hated by none. So that's fine. The segment will go on. Yeah, we're going to start here with Dylan Bundy for 24 DK fantasy points. This is a bit bold on my part, so if it goes south, I don't need to hear you complaining on the old Twitter machine. I get it. I'm giving you fair warning right now. But look, he takes on the Mets at home. He's not been very good at home. 353 WOBA with a 5.61 FIP. But in the same breath, you can also say that the Mets just aren't hitting right now, which is very true. Over the last 2 weeks, 305 WOBA with a 154 isolated power and a 23.5 K percentage. And that K percentage is what's key for me, because let's not forget, even though Bundy has been bad, which he's also been very bad, he still has a 9.4 K9 on the year. So if he can start striking guys out, and we'll probably know by the first inning, he can legitimately have a good start here. He's only 6,500, so that does leave some room for error here. He can give up a couple runs. If he gets 5 to 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, that could very well get done tonight. So let's hear it. I know you're probably going to trash me, and that's okay. That's all right. For this one, it's okay.
Yeah, Gary, and I'm hearing Dylan Bundy very bad, and then I'm also hearing 24 DK fantasy points. So what's your take on this one?
Well, here's the thing. Koff was just hitting the streets of New York talking about DFS in baseball terms. So I want to clear up one here. When we say tournament play or high variance, and we talk about it in a positive light, we basically mean bad, but he strikes guys out sometimes. And that's kind of Dylan Bundy. He's really bad. 620 FIP. Not like since mid-June, not since the end of May, since the end of April. He is the only qualified pitcher in baseball giving up more than 2 full home runs per 9. And the strikeouts thing, which again, I understand Steve's point. Bundy in 4 of his last 10 starts, and believe me, the other 6 have been putrid, sometimes negative scoring nights on DK. He's actually scored more than 24 DK points because he has that potential with the strikeouts. But he doesn't strike out left-handed bats nearly as well as he strikes out right-handed bats. Sub 20% strikeout rate against lefties, and the Mets have 4 left-handed bats in their lineup tonight, and the ones who aren't Jose Reyes are actually kind of good. So I'm not touching Bundy tonight. Again, GPP play, fantastic. That actually means he sucks.
Okay, so we've heard the word putrid thrown around to describe Dylan Bundy. What word would you use, Julian?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I don't need any terms like WOBA or BABPIs to answer this question. I think the segment for this, or I think the tone, rather, for this segment was set as soon as the Phillies decided Carlos Santana wasn't even good enough to be in the lineup tonight. Dylan Bundy, no. I understand he's going up against the Mets, but guess what? The Mets have had a pulse lately. They've scored 6 or more runs in 4 of their last 8 games.
Okay.
Bundy, a 6.75 ERA since June 17th. This is a hitter's ballpark. Balls fly out of the park in Baltimore. No, this is dumb. I don't want him in a GPP either.
All right, well, Steve, you did say, you're not going to take any responsibility for this one if people take him.
You know what? As a man of my word, he is in my lineups tonight. So even though I'm saying it, I'm going by it. He's in my lineups, baby. So if we go down in flames, I'm going down with you.
All right, you're going down with that ship. Yeah, ride or die. That's all we can really ask for. Dylan Bundy. All right, you've just officially hitched your wagon to Dylan Bundy. All right, Steve, who's your next pick?
Yeah, I know Garen's going to go with this one, so at least I won't get torn apart on this one. But it's Scooter Gennett at 18 DK fantasy points tonight. He's just too cheap at $4,200. He's batting cleanup against Shane Bieber, who struggles against left-handed bats. Versus lefties, a 377 WOBA with a 46% hard hit rate. Look, Gennett has fallen off a bit in the second half thus far, but against righties overall, he still sports a 370 WOBA with a 183 isolated power with 14 of his 18 home runs. Bieber is fantastic against righties, but once you get to lefties, he just completely falls apart. He has not figured it out yet at the major league level. The Reds don't have a ton of lefties in the lineup, but that heart of the lineup can get the damage done, and Gennett should be right in the middle of it.
All right, Julian, Steve seems to think that Garion is going to be good with this one, so we'll go to you first.
Yeah, well, I'll fight these guys on this, I guess. Why not? Look, I get that Shane Bieber, very hittable by lefties. They're hitting over 300 against him. And Bieber's had some really bad numbers coming out of the All-Star break, but don't be totally fooled by those. He's only allowed 2 earned runs in his last 2 starts in August. And Steve made a little bit of my argument for me, saying that Scooter Gennett just hasn't been that good in the second half. I'll take a guy at second base for a similar price, $4,300, in Brian Dozier, in another opposite hand matchup going up against Derek Holland. I'll spend my money, the same exact amount of money, on Brian Dozier rather than a guy like Scooter Gennett.
Garion, do you have a rebuttal there?
Well, I will say in my article, I wrote up Scooter, then I said other options, Brian Dozier. So I can really get behind both these bats. I like attacking this tier at second base. And for Scooter, this is kind of the opposite of Acuna in many ways, because he is ice cold and Acuna's on fire. But where we see these salaries get out of control towards the back end of a hot streak, we see them get way too low to compensate for someone who's been a little cold for 2 weeks in August. Like, just 3-4 weeks ago, Scooter was almost $5,000, especially in games played at Great American Ballpark, which is still Great American Ballpark. It is one of the best, if not the best places non-Coors to attack on a DFS slate. I mean, Bieber's numbers against lefties they're bad. Above a 375 WOBA allowed, a 45% or higher hard contact rate in all his starts at the major league level so far. So at $4,200, sure, he's cold, did it a home run 2 nights ago, but I think this is where you attack this price point because it's just dropped way too far.
Wow, and we're seeing some of these numbers now. It's just huge spike in viewership for this particular segment. It's crazy.
Really, really good stuff. Thank you, baseball guys. We'll get your slate-approved picks coming up. Joining us now, Mark Melancon, reliever for the San Francisco Giants, a 3-time All-Star. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun.
And it's only the beginning, my friend. Just brace yourself. All right, a clutch win over the Dodgers last night. 5 games out of first in the division. 5.5 out of the wild card. So how serious is the talk in the clubhouse about contending for a postseason spot right now?
Well, these last 2 wins, the last 2 nights, have really boosted the morale in the clubhouse for sure. You know, this is a big series for us coming into LA. And obviously they were tied for the lead at the beginning. So we're trying to diminish that. I think we were down 7 to start with. We're at 5 now. So we're doing our jobs.
Yeah, wrapping up the series with LA tonight. Things got heated last night in a scuffle between Yasiel Puig and Nick Hundley. How much more fire does a postseason push add to that rivalry?
Oh, yeah. The playoffs getting close definitely add to the excitement in the air. I mean, you saw it last night. Just running out from the bullpen, guys were fired up. So that was fun.
And Mark, you specifically, you've been a closer in your career, but have primarily been used in a setup role this season. So what's been the biggest adjustment that you've had to make?
Well, the timing is different. You know, you got to be ready at a different point in the game from basically the 5th inning on, and that's totally different because when you know you're going to pitch in the 9th and then now all of a sudden you could be in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, there's a big window there that, you just got to be ready a lot sooner. And you may not know exactly when you're going in. The lead may be a bigger lead. It may be you might be behind. A lot of different situations.
So is that just more of a mental thing for you?
Yeah, I think just an understanding and a mental preparation that's, getting your routine in quicker. So I'd say it's mental.
All right, we are DraftKings, so of course we got to talk some fantasy. In the fantasy world, how big of a fantasy sports guy are you?
I enjoy it. I can't say I'm the best at it, but I enjoy it. It's, we had a fun league last year, and we're getting ready to start our NFL league again this year. So it's always a fun time of year, when September rolls around.
Who's in your league with you?
We have a large league. We usually have about 16 guys or so that get in on the league.
How much research are you doing before these drafts? I mean, to make sure you're not like the guy finishing in last place in your 16-team league.
I usually lend that to my partner. I have 3 kids at home, so
they're perfect for that.
Yeah, I try to pick wisely on that.
Yeah.
So do you ever have fans talking to you or your teammates like about their fantasy league or how some of you guys have maybe impacted their fantasy teams?
It is funny. You'll hear fans kind of chirp down in the bullpen a lot of times saying, "Hey, you helped me out last night," or keep going. I got you on my fantasy, and so that's always it's kind of weird to hear actually, because it's this mythical world that you're living in, and for these guys, it's real life, It's but it's cool. It's kind of neat. I don't follow fantasy baseball at all, even though I guess it's probably something I will do when I get out of the game, because I'll know so many people that are still in the game, and it'd be a lot of fun to be able to play it then. But I feel like I don't know. I almost feel like it's illegal for me to be doing baseball,
Yeah, for
Bringing
sure.
your work home with you,
Yeah. You're
Right.
doing a good thing there, Mark, and we appreciate you joining us. Best of luck the rest of the season to you and the Giants, man.
Well, thank you.
All right, we talked to the pros. Now, hello again to Garion, Steve, and Julian. Garion, this is your time to shine here. It's time for something we're calling Thorn in My Side. We gave you a little taste of it yesterday, but we cut you short there.
All right, so give us 3 guys you hate on tonight's slate, buddy, and Steve and Julian will tell you what an idiot you are. Who is your first Thorn, please?
Well, this one they might be right. It's not even a single player. It's just the Indians in general. I am drinking a very little amount that is available of Robert Stevenson's Kool-Aid. And, I'm a man of the people. I read my fellow contributors' articles, so I know Julian, his number 1 stack tonight happened to be the Indians, but I also know that one Steve Buchanan dropped a couple hints that maybe he's on my side about this one. I mean, it's weird if you look at the narrative of this. Go back to the second half of last season. Like, Stevenson might be a disgraced former top prospect, but he is a former top prospect. He has stuff. And in the second half of last season, as a starter, he put up some great numbers, a sub 3.50 ERA, a respectable strikeout rate, opponent WOBA just 311, like really allowing fewer than a full home run per 9, pitching at Great American Ballpark, where he's actually better than his numbers would indicate on the road. And then you look at that last start against the Mets. I know we sit and laugh like he allowed 3 earned runs in 4 innings to the Mets, ha ha ha. The interesting thing to take from that start, he threw his slider 50% of the time. And why that's important is even going back to his far less successful days in 2016 and 2017, his slider has always been by far his best pitch. It's a .064 isolated power allowed in his career off that slider. So it's easy to say he's put up good minor league numbers, he's turned a page, blah, 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 without something tangible. We have something tangible. He has changed his approach as a pitcher. And at this price point, I mean, this is the Steve Bundy thing. Like, I've got Stevenson in lineups tonight. This is not just about fading the Indians. I like this price point. No one's going to be on this guy, but you can call me crazy if you wish.
Julian, how far off is Garion here? Because I'm looking at the DK playbook. The Cleveland Indians are your top stack, buddy.
There it is. I didn't really understand the second half of what Garion said. So I'm just going to keep saying what I've said.
Well, you're supposed to listen when he talks.
Yeah, no, I heard him talking. I just
he was
don't
thinking about
know
what he wanted to
any of
say.
that meant. 18 runs, 2 games at Great American Ballpark. We keep talking about Garion keeps hammering Great American Ballpark. What a great place to target bats. Well, those 4 runs in 3 innings that Robert Stevenson, whatever his name is, allowed to the Mets, that was at Citi Field. That's one of the better pitchers' parks in baseball. Now we're going to take this act to one of the better hitters' parks in baseball against one of the best lineups in baseball, which has already been absolutely on fire against extremely comparable pitchers in these same exact conditions. So I just have no reason to believe that anything we've seen in this series so far is going to change in this game because Robert Stevenson is on the mound.
Steve, Garion seemed to think you were on board with him.
Yeah, poor Julian. Julian just always has to go with the chalk. He can never say no to the chalk. That poor kid. I mean, if you read the MLB cheat sheet on DK Live and the DK Playbook, which I know you already all have, I was dropping some hints that I wasn't a fan. This game is projected to be one of the highest totals of the night, and yet the Indians have dropped about half a run since this morning. So that means a lot of sharp people, which if you're in New Jersey, you can spend on with the DK Sportsbook, are probably doing so, and they're betting against the Indians here. Look, Stevenson through the second half last year, 307 WOBA with a 4.22 FIP. The Indians are super expensive tonight. So if you're going with the Indians, you're not getting Cole. You're not getting Wheeler. You're going to get the Estradas and Bundys, which he might be okay, but you're going to get some really shaky pitching options tonight. I'm not a big fan of the Indians like Gary, and so you know what? For this one, he's not an idiot.
Gary, and what's your second Thorn? This will be your final Thorn of the night.
We're cutting you short again.
Yep, sorry,
I'm just
buddy.
ingesting that praise. I mean, oh my goodness, that's so fantastic. Let's talk about Matt Carpenter, because my other guy was Nathan Eovaldi. We've already talked about how he struggles with lefties, blah, 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 blah. But Matt Carpenter, I mean, you can't really say anything negative about this guy, so let's focus on Jeremy Hellickson for a second. Hellickson is kind of slowly becoming like 2016 Kyle Hendricks, and I mean that in the best way possible. This guy is a soft contact savant. He really limits the opposing damage that can be done to him because he just doesn't allow any hard contact. 7th lowest hard contact rate allowed to opponents of the 132 pitchers with at least 80 innings thrown this season. He has the highest infield fly ball rate by almost 4% over any other pitcher with 80 innings thrown, up at 20%. Not an extremely high fly ball rate, not an extremely high average exit velocity. I just feel like I don't want to pick on Jeremy Hellickson, and that's a weird feeling to have in 2018, but the stats back it up.
Are you going to be picking on Jeremy Hellickson, Steve?
No, and I know we're pressed for time, so I'll make it short. Okay. Too expensive. I like Wheeler. Hellickson doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Now to Julian.
Julian, your new haircut, please.
My quick version, if we're going, Matt Carpenter's dual position eligible. If we're paying up at first base, I want Freddie Freeman. If I'm paying up at third base, I want Jose Ramirez. And I'll take the last of my time to say, if anybody wants to challenge me to a head-to-head with Dylan Bundy and Ronald Stevenson as their pitchers, my username is Jedlo. I will gladly accept.
Bring in the fire tonight, Jedlo. I like it.
Bring in the
What a loser.
Bringing the heat. What a loser. All right, Steve, I guess you're going to take that challenge then.
Forget it. I'm not gonna entertain Julian here in his
Okay.
All right.
It's a lot of talk, bud.
Before we go, how about you give us your slate-approved picks, your lock of the night, and it can be anyone that you've mentioned on the show today. Steve, you're up first.
I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you Scooter Jeanette, who I like, and then anybody Julian talked about, forget it. Awful.
So that's the slate disapproved pick. All right, Gerrit.
Just go with Zack Wheeler.
Julian, is it Bundy?
My slate disapproved picks will be Bundy and Stevenson, and my approved pick will be Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
Dylan Bundy.
Dylan Bundy.
Ride or die.
Ride or die.
My ride or die man.
All right, thanks, guys. Now here's DK Live editor Alex Jankowski helping you with your baseball draft strategy.
Before we get into all the statistics you want to research when targeting pitchers, let's quickly break down the scoring structure for pitchers on DraftKings. Every inning a pitcher completes, regardless of what happens in the inning, yields you 2.25 points. A strikeout gets you 2 points, and an earned run takes 2 away. Anytime a pitcher allows a base runner, be it on a hit, a walk, or a hit batter, he loses 0.6 points. But don't sweat every hit, because if the pitcher gets a win, he receives 4 points with additional bonuses for a complete game shutout, and the almighty no-hitter. So what stats should we target? WHIP stands for walks and hits per innings pitched, a number that you want to be as low as possible, as walks and hits cut into that 2.25 points you earn for each inning pitched. Corey Kluber was the best in baseball at limiting base runners with a WHIP of just .869. Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, and Chris Sale were the only ones under 1,000. On the flip side, the number we want to see as high as possible is strikeouts per 9 innings. We know a pitcher who can rack up Ks is a pitcher we generally like, so it helps to know who's getting batters to whiff the most. Once again, we find the name Chris Sale near the top, as he averaged just less than 13 strikeouts per 9 innings last season, tops in the MLB. Those two stats are a good place to start to get a leg up, or rather an arm up, on the competition.
All right, Jeff, Reed, and Brentley have returned, which means we're once again looking ahead to the Wyndham Championship teeing off tomorrow.
Indeed. Here's the segment. It's PGA Pin Placement, former champion edition. We're asking you to pinpoint where these players will finish this week. We'll give you some leeway, but we do want you to nail down an exact spot for us. 2011 champion Webb Simpson, the most expensive guy on the board this week. Where is he finishing, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fade Webb Simpson at this event. I mean, he named his daughter after it, for God's sake. So I'm going to go T8 here. I don't think Webb wins, but he's got a chance to finish really high. And at the same time, you know, he might finish a little bit lower than that, but he's been so consistent here. I'll go T8.
Sorry, his daughter's name is Wyndham?
His daughter's name is Wyndham Rose. He won his first event here, so he named her after it.
Wow, that's dedication.
That is dedication. Reed, where is the father of Wyndham going to finish?
I think he's going to finish in 10th place. I mean, like Jeff was saying, this guy, it's hard to fade him outside the top 10. I mean, outside of 2016, where he was just terrible at putting and essentially lost strokes in every category, he's finished top 10 over those since, I think, 2013. So plus 40 strokes gained in that same time frame. So I'm going to say top 10 or 10th.
Bentley, you better have a top 10 here, or you are going to disappoint his daughter.
I'm going with 5th because, you know, I think he's going to win. So if I go 4th, then I'm kind of giving up a little bit.
All right, man.
But,
be forking out some cash for him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, you know, I mean, he's officially on the Ryder Cup team, so that's one less thing he has to worry about. He's only missed 1 cut in 9 starts here, 5 top 15s. Pretty safe bet.
All right, what about 2012 champion Sergio Submergio Garcia?
Oh, you got to start with Jeff.
Sergio Submergio Garcia. Jeff, where is he finishing?
112.
112.
That's it?
That's it. He's finishing 112.
I
don't even need the 5 places. That's just where he's finishing.
He's going to be Submergio'd at 112. Reed, what do you think?
I mean, like, I took some notes from the last baseball segment, and thank God we finished with golf as the best segment here on this.
Well, we actually finished with you guys just in case we run out of time. We can cut you.
That's rude. So I would say top 20 here or 20th for Submergio. I think, and if I read Jeff's DK Playbook article, he did say that Sergio was a course horse, obviously with some top finishes. So I'm going to say 20th. Like on Ross courses, strokes gained approach, he's 7th over the last 24 rounds.
Yeah, he's decade he was the course horse.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's you're getting one of the best players in the field. Yeah, he's been terrible for the last 2 months, but I'm going to say 20th.
Brentley, so we got 20th and 112th. Where are you falling?
See if we can find a median here.
In that range.
Yeah, it would definitely be smart to go somewhere in the middle, but I'm going to say 15th.
There we go, Brentley.
Alternative thinking to Webb, you know, officially being on the Ryder Cup team. Sergio is right now, he's projected to be off the Ryder Cup team for the Team Europe. So his back's against the wall. Yeah, his driver hasn't been great this season, but as I said before, you know, you can get away with it a little bit at Sedgefield. So I just have a gut feeling. I mean, sometimes you have to go with gut feelings, and I also don't think a lot of people are going to pick him because, you know, Submergio is not exactly, you know, doing people favors in fantasy this season. So
especially
he has
this
a lot of
nickname
enemies.
that's making the rounds now across the internet.
Yeah,
Submergio
it's going viral here. All right, guys, before we get you out of here, how about some slate-approved picks? Your lock of the tournament, your must-play. Brentley, let's start with you. I know it's not Henrik Stenson.
It's definitely not Henrik Stenson. I'm going to go with a guy who has 2 healthy elbows, and that's 19-year-old Joaquin Niemann.
Yeah.
You know, if for those people who love stats, you know, he just became eligible on the PGA Tour in stats. So right now he's 12th in strokes gained off the tee, 5th in strokes gained approach, 19th driving distance, 2nd in greens hit, and 2nd in proximity. That's pretty good. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get his first win, and so that's what I'm going to go with him.
1,486 in the world rankings. He started the year. He's climbed all the way up to 157. Reed, you were pretty hot on this kid yesterday. Is he your slate approved?
Well, for some, you know, not just to be repetitive, I'm going to actually choose old man Steve Stricker. I think he does well. If you want irons and wedge play, this is your guy. So if it's not Joaquin Niemann, it's going to be Steve Stricker.
Old man Stricker.
Okay, Jeff.
Old man Strick.
I know who you're not going with. Who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Billy Horschel. I mean, I'll stick with my
Nice.
guy. I mean, I don't think people realize how consistent he's been off the tee, ball striking. He's done well. This course lit it up here a couple of years ago. Coming in good. I'm going with Billy Ho.
All right, the Florida Gator. I like it, Jeff. And I like all three of you on this program, but that's all the time we have.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. We're going to be back again tomorrow at 6.
Yep.
We're going to have a great time. Can't
Yep.
wait to see
Actually, I'm
everybody.
not going to be here. I'm going to be on a beach in Florida.
All right, well, something might be here tomorrow at 6. Maybe it won't. This has been The Sweat. I'm Jessie. He's Emerson, and we'll see you later.